Hey, it's you, man, from KC95 here. Good evening and welcome to Toasted Tavern. Your host, Scott Tobin, and the man called Wags are ready to bring you the night in sports. So pull up a stool, grab a drink, and let's get toasted.
And good evening and welcome into the Toasted Tavern. I am Wags, joined alongside, hopefully here by Scott in just a second. We've been having some Wi-Fi issues on both of our ends, so we're going to see if we can get this to actually work a little bit, because we got a lot of football to talk about tonight. We've got high school football in full swing, college football is now in full swing, and we're going to have the NFL coming up here very, very shortly. It's going to be a lot of fun, and for those of you that are listening in, just go ahead and pop in the comments. Let me know you're here, and B, let me know what you're seeing on your end so we can figure out our potential technical issues as we go about the show tonight. We're hopefully going to be able to be joined by Ray Halbrook from LiveStreamSTL tonight to talk about high school football season. He is down in an area that is a place that we don't necessarily cover a whole lot. So we're going to have Ray coming in, and I think Scott's now a part of the show. I know I was telling them we've been having Wi-Fi issues on both of our ends tonight. So you're back and you're here, and how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing all right, man. Yeah, just as you started to talk about it, my Wi-Fi just totally went. There's a problem and kicked me out. So I'm back. Hopefully we can get through this. It is a holiday weekend, so I'm assuming a ton of people are probably talking to each other, chatting and stuff today, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, that and nobody's actually manning the Wi-Fi anyway. It's everything that could go wrong is probably going wrong right now. And who knows? Maybe the entire country's getting hacked at the moment. You just never know.
It's possible, man. It is possible.
Well, I was saying we're getting a lot of football talk tonight because we've got high school football in full swing, college football really got going this week, and we got the NFL coming up. I told them we're going to have Ray Halbrook coming on from LiveStreamSTL here just a little bit to talk about an area that we don't get a chance to talk about very, very much. So we'll get into that here in just a second. Real quick, before we get Ray on, I just want to get your instant reaction from this weekend. We were on Saturday morning talking about college football, especially about Mizzou and Illinois. Both games for them were very interesting, to say the least, and college football as a whole was very interesting over the weekend.
Yeah, we definitely got some results I wasn't expecting. Mizzou won. That was the big thing. I mean, it wasn't a real exciting game. They didn't play real crisp football for most of it. They looked a little better in the second half, but it was week one, so we'll see. They're 5-point underdogs as of right now going into that game against Kentucky, so we'll see what happens next week. And Illinois, like you said, it was interesting. But there were a lot of interesting games. I mean, who would have thought that you had a Clemson-Georgia game where neither team's offense actually scores a touchdown?
Not me. I thought at least one offensive touchdown would be scored, and it was not. It was a pretty good game. We'll talk some college football here in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of get your instant reaction to the weekend. Was it what letter grade would you give it for week one of the real college football season?
Probably like a C+.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Expectations were mixed, results were mixed, and I think we had some surprises and some not so surprises as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. We're going to bring in Ray Halbrook from LiveStreamSTL to talk some high school football. Ray, how are you doing, man? It's been a long time since I got to see you. It's still not in person, but you're on my screen. So how you doing, man?
Hey, man, how you guys doing, man?
Cannot complain.
No, we're doing good. It's like old times. We're all back together.
Yeah, got the crew back together here. It's been a little while since I've been doing some producing up there, but hey, we've been staying busy, and football season is in full force right now.
That it certainly is, and we kind of brought you on especially because you cover an area that we don't get a chance to talk to a whole lot. I mean, Scott and I cover up here in like the St. Louis area. I was actually out at Fox this past weekend, calling the Fox game. But we kind of want to get a view of the area that you're from and talk about some of the schools that are down there. So give us just a little bit of an overview of where you cover and what we may be missing out on.
Sure. You missed out on the entire season last season with most of the schools being gone, due to COVID and whatnot. We had a lot of action down there last season, and interesting football. But this year's a little bit different. We cover basically the entire Jefferson County per se maybe even a little bit more down south of that, because there are a couple of teams that are that jump up into the Jefferson County Conference for football as well. A couple of new ones this year, actually up in the St. Louis County area that were covered as well. So you're talking about, teams like from the north side, you're talking Bishop DeBerg, Bayless, all the way down, down 55. Here, Windsor, Herculaneum, Crystal City, Festus, St. Pius, and then over a little bit west over to DeSoto, Hillsboro, and even as far down south as St. Vincent and Perryville. So they're part of the Jefferson County Conference right now as well.
So I know we're just a week into the season, Ray, but who's looking really strong down there this year?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been an interesting week. It's interesting what a week makes. First week, I'll just point out the shocker game for us that we came across that we weren't covering, but Hillsboro taking out Northwest, in goose egg fashion, and a pretty big win for them. But then they go down to Jackson, the Class 5, I believe, state champs, and they got goose egged. And so, it's kind of one of those things that, what one week looks great, the next week you got your hands full, and I'll point out Festus as well. First week, they had a tough one against St. Genevieve, but then they come back and beat Sullivan this week. I believe that's who they were playing pretty easily as well. Some teams that are really rolling right now, Jefferson R7, I don't think they've given up a point all season in these two weeks. Grandview, even a little small Grandview over there in Hillsboro, they looked really, really well. We covered their jamboree over at Windsor. They were over there with Windsor and DeBerg and a few others, and they looked really strong. And they're 2-0 right now. St. Pius 1-1. They had a real tough one against Monroe City week 1. Week 2, they have Piggott, Arkansas come up. And last year, Piggott, Arkansas kind of had their number. They whipped up on them pretty good. But this year, they kind of returned the favor there over at St. Pius, beating them 22-0 this week. So, there's a lot of great action out here. You can't mix. You can't. I'd be totally remiss in not mentioning Valley Catholic down south. They're rolling as well, beating some pretty big teams that are probably twice the size of them too. So little bitty Valley Catholic. They got bumped up a couple of classes last year, and I'll tell you they've handled it pretty well. But for the most part, I mean, we covered this past week Herculaneum and DeBerg. Herculaneum winning 52-0. DeBerg struggled this year. They're struggling a little bit this year. New coach. Things like that. But I just want to mention those two teams and St. Pius as because they're kind of our affiliates now this year. So we're excited to have those guys on. We're doing them on a regular basis, a lot of their games. But Herculaneum, they dropped a heartbreaker 2 years in a row here to Windsor by around a field goal. Less than a touchdown, so you're a score away, but you just wasn't able to get over the hump. But they take care of DeBerg this week, and then like I said, St. Pius did pretty well as well. So it really is kind of one of those things. We've kind of got a mixed bag here in Jefferson County because we've got what we consider large school, in like teams like DeSoto, Hillsboro, Festus, but they're not nearly as large as what you guys normally cover up north. They're more of the Class 4, Class 5, where you guys are getting those Class 5, Class 6s, and then we got all the way down to Class 1. So there's you got teams like Crystal City in Class 1. Valley Catholic was in Class 1. They get jumped up because of the bonus factor of being a one of those private schools, but it is what it is. And I absolutely love the mixture. It is difficult at times to cover. Who do you want to go cover? Because it's tough to not want to leave somebody out. But we enjoy doing it down here and starting to make our way up into St. Louis a little bit more and taking a look at some schools as well. So, but we're having a good time.
Well, Scott and I are both pretty familiar with, teams like Valley Catholic,
That's good.
Jackson, because we both were down in the Cape Girardeau area. He was in Sykes and I was in Cape Girardeau. So we're very, very familiar with those teams. And like you said, that you've got so many different class sizes, and that just leads you to so many different types of football. I mean, up here, like you said, we got big schools that just, ground and pound, or they drop back and they got the guys that can throw the ball. There, between class 1 and 5, you've got a couple of different styles of football. And how difficult is that to cover?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's, the turnover too. I mean, you've got to take a look at 1 year. You're used to covering a handful of seniors, anywhere from 2 to 5 to sometimes it's 20. And when you see that turnaround of those seniors that they leave and they're gone, it's a total new ball of wax. And I'll tell you, I can see it being a pretty difficult task for a lot of these coaches here in Jefferson County to continue to have the winning tradition throughout, to go on any kind of long streak. I mean, I was part of a pretty, strong football program when I was in high school out of Herculaneum under Coach Stam Helms. We saw, some good teams. You had Herculaneum, you had Festus, and you had Hillsborough, and those were the three, the big three, and that was basically it. So I mean, I would say it's really difficult for these coaches to be able to continue to just churn out winning season after winning season. I'm not going to pick on this guy, but I'll use a coach who came in last year, AJ Ofadale over at Festus. Had a really good season last season. They fell short, I believe, in the sectionals. And, but great first season. They dropped the first game, but that's kind of been the MO, for a Festus team. They kind of get off to a slow start, but then I'll tell you what, you give them another 3 weeks and they're going to just be blown by teams. So, it's that mixed bag. And, it's tough. Like I said, it's tough being a coach in Jefferson County for football.
Yeah, that Festus team was pretty good last year. We got to see them. They came up here and played Borgia last year, and that was a pretty entertaining game. I got to see them in person, and I have to ask though, since I grew up as a kid in the area and I still have family, how are my DeSoto Dragons looking? I know football is not normally a power sport for them, but how do they look?
Yeah, right. So DeSoto under a new coach, and the new coach is kind of slipping my mind. We haven't covered a whole lot of DeSoto this year, but I know right now they're 0-2, but under a new coach, and could be new schemes, could be just the players getting used to this coach. But DeSoto had a very good year last year. They had a great running back, and a pretty good quarterback running back combo there. And this year, I'm not sure what's going on out there, but DeSoto, they're usually 500 or above most of the time. But this year 0-2, but you've got, it's early in the season and they've got chances to get used to their new coach.
Well, and Rodney Hale said we shouldn't have mentioned DeSoto. So sorry, Rodney, but we got to talk about him. We have to talk about him. You talk about 1 week being one way, the next week the next. I got, like I said, a chance to see Fox, and Fox was a team that week 1 they got destroyed by Summit. I mean, they did not look good. They got shut out, and then they go and play Rittner, a team that took Class 6 Pattonville to like the brink the week before, and they just roll all over them. So it does show you that one good week of practice can change an entire season. So just because you're starting 0-2 doesn't mean anything. You get in, just like every other sport, you get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
Right. I'll use an example. The last couple of years, I'll use the St. Pius Lancers. They had a couple of games last year, COVID issues with the teams that they were playing, so they had to pick up a couple of new teams along the way. And they didn't go chintzy. They didn't go say, well, let's go find a pushover team. They went and found a tougher team that they knew they might get beat to set that up for their districts. And I think that is a huge strategy. I mean, there are, I can't tell you that in different sports, even, the different mindsets, especially in the Jefferson County area here. Hey, we're going to play this really tough schedule, but it's going to set us up for success in the districts. And lo and behold, boom, you see 2, 3, 4 different schools in the Jefferson County Conference come out of those particular districts, and it sets them up for success in the long run.
That's very true. And I've talked to Wags about this, but a team you guys are going to have to watch out for as we get into the playoffs. In Class 4, I'm covering Union Wildcats. And Union made it to the semifinals last year. They've got a quarterback in Liam Hughes that I was telling somebody the other day is probably the most polished junior quarterback I've seen in a long time. He was as a sophomore last year as he led them, but this year he's just unbelievable. And through 2 games, they've outscored their opponents 88-21. So they're looking really, really tough.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember being out there to attempt to cover that particular game between Union and Festus, and we had some we had an unfortunate incident when one of my announcers had an emergency he had to take care of, and kind of bummed us out because we weren't able to come out there and cover it. But I know that Union, the big game they had was against John Burroughs last year, the game before Festus, and They always struggle. It seemed like I was talking to Dan Ridgway, the athletic director over there at Union. He said they really played an amazing game over there last season. So I'll just give that little plug there to Coach Ridgway there, and appreciate him even having us out for that. But yeah, I mean Union, they look pretty strong, pretty stout, and was kind of a surprise team last year. And I look for them to continue their success from last year.
Now, we talk about some of the kids up here that we know about. Tell us about some of the kids we need to look out for down in the Jefferson County area that, like I said, we don't necessarily hear a whole lot about up here.
Right. So I'll tell you, a great running back from Hillsborough, Jackson Patterson. He's a great running back over there, and he ran all over Northwest. The quarterback over at Festus, his name is I'm trying to remember his name, but quarterback last season as well. It'll come to my mind. I knew you were going to throw names at me here. But Drew Breeze, you hear the name Drew Breeze, but there's a Drew Breeze over at Jefferson R7 as well. Great quarterback over there. Like I said, they've rolled over a lot of their opponents and have not given up any points yet. So Drew Breeze done a real good job over there as quarterback. Mikey Maloney, I'm going to name that name over at Herculaneum. This is a kid that is been using both sides of the ball to be successful with, but really impressed me. They were supposed to have Jackson Deering over there as their quarterback. They moved him to a different spot, and then he got hurt, not being a quarterback, but they brought in I believe he's a sophomore, and again, I can't think of his name to save my life, but I'm the producer here. You're not talking to an announcer here, all right? So, but so save my bacon there. There's my excuse. But no, good names over there. Those are the main ones that I was thinking of offhand that I felt like has had, some good success at their places. I'll mention over at St. Pius, Nate Rubel, great running back over there as well. And, those guys are having great seasons, this year so far early on, and that usually leads to success throughout the rest of the season. Back to you.
Scott, you got something?
Sorry, internet issue. I just froze again there for a second. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet tonight, but yeah. So it sounds like Jefferson County is pretty stacked down there, Ray. What are some of the games you guys have coming up in the next couple of weeks at Livestream?
Yeah, so this week we have we're covering over at Grandview High School. St. Pius is taking on Grandview. That'll be two really good teams this year that have had some strong play early on. And Grandview might be a surprise. They have not jumped over the St. Pius hill yet, but I think this season here is going to be a really good matchup. We have Herculaneum over at Jefferson. Jefferson's kind of had Herculaneum's number the last couple of years, but having that 52-0 big win over DeBerg this week, I think, that gives you a big shot of confidence over there for the Black Cats. And so those are our conference, or our games that we're covering. We usually cover 2 games a week. We've got them over on LiveStreamSTL and LiveStreamSTL South over on our LiveStreamSTL website. So you're not busy, check it out. We have a video on demand as well available. So.
Yeah, the fact that you get a chance to check out a multitude of games and you don't have to necessarily do it live. I mean, that's the beauty of what you guys are doing over there, is that, maybe you do tune into the live game that you're interested in, but then, maybe you got a game coming up against a team that's on the other channel. You get a chance to go and watch those games. You can do some scouting or what have you. I mean, that's the beauty of what you're doing. So tell us a little bit more about what LiveStreamSTL is all about.
Yeah, so this is going on our 4th season as LiveStreamSTL, and we began the whole thing began probably around a little bit later than this time. It's probably in September of 18. So September of 18, I had a buddy of mine. I was actually planning on doing something completely different with live streaming, but I had a buddy of mine call me up. He said, "Hey, I want you to come over and do a few volleyball games over at Hillsboro." So we did, and first game we had like 25, 30 parents that were just like absolutely eating it up. And I said, well, maybe there's something to this. And we've evolved into going from just LiveStreamSTL, but out to a LiveStreamSTL South. We've got 2 teams now. Really excited about that. Being able to cover a couple of football games, a couple of basketball games, a night if needed. We cover softball. We cover love doing girls softball. We did the inaugural softball game out at the brand new Festus facility Wednesday over at their brand new all turf field for baseball and softball. Desperately, I know that they've been wanting that for years, and just wanted to give a shout out to that because that was a really it was a big treat for us to cover. And then so we cover baseball. We would love to do some hockey from time to time. We did cover some hockey a little while back. We'll have to get into the Missouri High School Hockey Association over there, to be able to get a few of those as well. But, football. And we did volleyball last year. Volleyball kind of didn't take for us. So we're doing a few for DeBerg this year because they're actually paying us for it. So might as well do it. But, soccer as well. I'm not a soccer guy. I know you're a big soccer guy up there, Wags. But, to me, I just think it's a bunch of guys kicking a ball around. But, it does get exciting sometimes, but, we'll cover some of that a little bit here and there, and lots of basketball. We did 75 basketball games last year, and so no big deal for us. We'll be able to cover 75 games, right? And so we work basically off of mainly sponsorships, but we have done a thing this year, and I'll just put this little plug out there. If you're a school and you don't have streaming similar to Fox Sports or ESPN, I had a guy, and I'm not lying to you, but I had a guy from St. Pius I was talking to over Friday night. He said, "Oh yeah, you guys are the guys from LiveStreamSTL. You guys are like the ESPN of Jefferson County." And I'm like, well, I appreciate that, and so, I thought that was kind of cool. So we don't come out there with just one camera. We're coming out there 4 or 5 cameras, trying to give you guys some good value. So if you're watching and you're a school that's interested in that, feel free to give us a call. Check us out on our Facebook page. Our number's up there.
Yeah, you guys have done some incredible work. I've yet to get a chance to call a game for you. I'm still trying to find a way to do it.
Working on it.
Trying to get out there.
Yeah,
we are. I've got a couple football things. I'm actually at Lindenwood now and doing some stuff with them. I'll actually be Speaking of volleyball, I'm going to be doing the women's volleyball play-by-play this year for Lindenwood. So, I mean, if I'm paying to go to school there, I better get a chance to actually call some stuff, right?
Right on. I love it. Yeah, we've been up there. We did a game up there at Lindenwood CBC Melville basketball game. That was a tight one until the end, but that was a really good game.
Scott? think we got a bit of a delay.
Scott's a little delayed there.
It is. It's sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm having issues, but yeah, I want to get out and do a game for you too, Ray. We keep talking about it. One of these days it'll happen. So we'll
Yeah,
all end up working together at some point.
Right. Yeah. It's been a great evolving thing. We've really had to rely on some coaches to help us, at first here, and we're not opposed to having just about anybody call. It's the hard part about it is, when you're doing a production that's more than a couple of cameras, there's a lot of things that I'm got going on, and I turn a lot over to the announcer to kind of carry the game. So I'm over here doing my thing. The announcer's doing their thing. A camera person's doing their thing, and so it's a little hectic compared to just your normal average live stream. And a lot of schools they'll live stream with just one camera, and that's cool, But we really believe that we've got a chance to show some greater value, put in some greater highlight to be able to highlight these student athletes and use them to we want to make them a better citizen in the long run. We want to get them in front of a scout. We want to get them in front of a university, or even whether it's Division I, Division II, junior college, doesn't matter. The problem that I think a lot of these schools and these colleges, they just don't have access to good footage or enough information on a lot of kids. And so that's why we chose Jefferson County, because we knew a lot of schools already kind of had some live streaming and things like that. Huddle's becoming a big deal. What am I thinking of? The Max Preps do a lot of stuff, and kudos to those guys. But we do this kind of more on a local level, and where Max Preps, you lose a little bit of the local feel and the local, the atmosphere. And I think that's important. That really is important, because once a coach is able to find and see kind of what that atmosphere is, they know what that kind of kid is, and they know what that kind of athlete is. And I think that's extremely important for the decision making process of a scout or anybody in university, coach, whatever.
Totally 100% agree on that one. And, you don't just cover the live sports, the high school sports. You also do a couple of really cool things on your channel as well, the coaches shows and things like that. Tell us a little bit about the other shows that you guys that have as part of LiveStreamSTL.
Yeah, so we've been running the coaches box. Had 4 guys get together with me. This was probably a little over about a year and a half ago, I guess it was. And we've been rolling for 74 weeks, 74 out of 76 weeks. We've only missed 2 weeks. And there's banter. We talk about a lot of stuff. They're crazy guys. I've picked up Jim Powers over at the High School Caravan. We're going to start doing some more of the High School Caravan shows as well. And Jeff Whitener and I consider Jeff Whitener kind of the Jim Powers of Jefferson County. He and I get together and we'll do a show. It's called Main Street Sports, that evolved out on Main Street in Festus, Missouri, over at Main and Mill Brewing Company. But we've evolved in different places, and we do those at different places. But we normally cover that strictly coaches and the students, and we really like to highlight those students from time to time. All of the sports that we cover, plus we've already started to do kind of some where are they now. We've been doing this, like I said, this is the 4th year, so we've got some kids that are graduated. They come back and see us. When we see them, we have them on during halftime or during an inning or during a quarter or whatever, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see these kids come back that are either in college or they're coming back just to hang out, and they see us and we make contact. Hey, come on over. We're going to have you over, because they're family to us. They really are. It's just, to me, that's such a vital, cool little thing that we're able to provide for the Jefferson County area here. And we're going to move that abroad. We'd love to be up in the St. Louis and St. Charles counties as well. Hopefully that'll happen here in the next year or two.
And I've gotten to watch a couple of those shows, and that is really cool what you guys do, highlighting the different kids and the coaches and everything. You do a really great job with all of that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, because a lot of times you're dealing with, me on the production side. Well, it's like, okay, well, you just throw up your cameras and go, right? No, it's not, doesn't work like that a lot of times. A lot of times we have to do a lot of pre-production, talk things through. Yes, Jim Powers. I mean, Jim and Jeff, both great. And my coaches box guys, they know that, we put a lot more in it than just showing up. There's a lot of topics that we want to talk about. There's a lot of things that we want to accomplish. And, just bring, again, high level, high value is what we're looking at. And that's the important thing. And that's the key thing to keep LiveStreamSTL, hopefully St. Louis's streaming service. My shameless plug there.
Nothing wrong with that. And it's crazy. Wait, preparing for a show. I think we were.
What's that all about?
That once. We tried to tell somebody that once before. Didn't work out so well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have no comment.
No comment. No comments. Oh man. Well, I know you said you're trying to get up into St. Louis. Are there any headway that you've made here, or is it still kind of in the preliminary stages?
Yeah. So this year we brought on Jim Powers. He was over at Maryville University. He left Maryville University over the summer and took a job over at DeBerg as their marketing and communications director. And first he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I want you guys out there." And I'm like, "Well, we're honored, man. That's awesome." So, Bishop DeBerg. So we'll be out there for a handful of games. I think we have somewhere around 10, 15 games out there for them. And then we made a great connection with Lutheran South, Ben Elick over there, the girls basketball coach, a girls basketball coach over at Webster Groves as well, Josh Spool. So we're hoping to be working some things out with them as well. They had a really great run, made it to the Final Four out there, Webster Groves, and then also up north, Fort Zumwalt West, I believe. Dusty. Well, I just mentioned we're not out there, but we're working on some stuff with those three coaches. Have a organization called Next Level Basketball, and so they run like what they call feeder teams, and do a lot of feeder teams. Things like that. You just got a notification that I just lost your faces there for a second, but I
don't think that's a big loss.
Oh man! Hey,
no, not really.
You guys all got faces for radio, right? I get it.
Totally.
I get it. But but Dusty Weiskopf up there, I believe he's at Zumwalt North. I'm double record. I got to remember that. But those guys, they've done a great job with some feeder teams. We worked out with them this summer out at Lutheran South. They had some camps out there and some tournaments and summer tournaments, and had a blast with those guys. They are fun guys to work with, great guys to hang out with, and they've got some great organizations that they're using to just use to build those feeder teams. Because hey, if you're just playing basketball during basketball season for high school season, that's really not enough these days. I mean, you got to stay competitive, you got to stay sharp, and they do a great job of putting together some great summer camps.
That they really do. I know we got up here with Fort Zumwalt West. You got the Junior Jags football squad that's been doing a lot of stuff. I mean, they've just grown immensely, and there's about 6 or 7 in this area up here that are heavily invested in the community as well. So being able to be a part of that would be a really big thing, because now you're getting grandparents that aren't around able to watch their young kids playing at a younger age and being able to experience that. So that's an incredible thing to do.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the key. We want it to be a win-win situation for the school, for the parents, for the student athlete, and the college, because once we get them through high school, we get them into college and stuff. You take a look at that, you build that relationship, and again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. They become family. They become it becomes a situation where we're not just 4 years and done, and we'll see it. No, they come back and they remember us, and they remember the coverage that we give them, and that's all we want. I mean, we're not anything special, but it's something that's near and dear to our heart, that we would love to, bring you more than just what you see on a highlight reel from Huddle or because you don't get the ambiance, you don't get the atmosphere. We're calling the game, so it's a lot more personable.
And that's a big deal for the kids too, is that they get to see their games on TV.
Sure.
They know that you guys are hyping them up, and that makes them feel good. So it's just a good thing all the way around for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, parents and kids, they eat this up. Hey, live streams here, and we try to make ourselves very approachable. Love to chat with the kids, and we love the good interviews too. We try to we've done different things where people will call in, they'd vote for player of the game to when we were keeping things on social media at times. Hey, we got a game on social media. They would vote on social media right there. This is who I think's player of the game. We'd tally it up. We'd have that person on at the end of the game. You do a short little interview, and they love that. So I mean, it's kind of the big network kind of feel coming down to hometown high school atmosphere, and I feel like that to me is a win-win, and the winning ticket to create high value.
100%, and it also helps prepare them for that college experience too, because a lot of times in
That's
college,
true.
when the first time they have a microphone shoved in their face is that moment. So if they've got the experience of having been interviewed or being able to experience that sort of environment before they get to college, it's only going to make it much better for them in the long run.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, we've even had situations where we've talked about that on some of our shows, the importance of knowing what to say and knowing what not to say, during an interview. And I mean, I think that you almost could make that a 101 class for all of your sporting organizations. Hey, we're going to take a couple hours here, and we're going to go through what it takes to handle the media, because we want to be able to ask the right questions, and hopefully they're going to give us the right answer and the good information. And when they don't, and they kind of clam up, they're kind of like, it just becomes a real drab. I hate to say it, but it's not a good interview. And you want to be a good representative, not just to you, but to your team, to your school, things like that. So I'd love to be a life coach to do that. That'd be great, right?
It's the next venture.
There you go.
Love it.
Oh. Got anything else, Scott? Maybe
He's froze up again. Maybe.
I think he did.
Scott's on 10-second delay.
Yes, he is. Hey, we got to have the dump button just in case he says something that we don't want him to say.
All right. Now I'm back. There I am.
Oh,
this would happen
What's
tonight.
Your question?
We haven't had. We were just going to talk. I don't even know. Now I'm all out of whack, man. You guys are making fun of me for being frozen. Yeah, no. Again, it just all goes back to what a great job you guys do preparing these kids for everything that we just talked about. And how much that helps them, and it also, like you said, reflects well on you guys being able to ask the right questions and kind of make them comfortable as you do it, and it's just a good experience for everybody.
Well, I agree. And we're living in such a fast-paced world now that a lot of schools. I'll just be real honest. There's been a lot of schools that have refrained from, pushing any of the streaming services, things like that. And I hope we've kind of broken the mold a little bit. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we only maybe had one or two schools down here in the county that were streaming on a regular basis, and now everybody. COVID did that, so it kind of pushed everybody to, force them to. Pull out their iPad and go to Facebook, or pull out their iPad and go to YouTube, to start. But and that's fine. But if you're really wanting to do some things on the next level, you really need to find a good streaming company to do this stuff. And we try to go in with the attitude of we don't want it to be too expensive, but we want it to be. We still need to make money. We still need to live. But we want to make it, a win, again, a win-win for all the schools, all the parents, all the students. And, at the end of the day, we'd much rather cover than not. So there's a lot of things that go into that. But we started a new thing this year with a few schools, and like we mentioned it earlier, Herculaneum, St. Pius, DeBerg, they jumped on where they've gotten on the premium scheduling with us, where they get to choose. They get to kind of choose about 20 games, and once those 20 games are chosen, that's it. It's one of those things that anybody else asks us, sorry, we've already got somebody else covering that. But and we want to kind of dangle the carrot there for some of these schools that have thought about using us, but and we threw out a really just amazingly cheap price to a lot of these schools. So we are cheaper than some of the other competitors, and I know I can't talk to anybody up there. Wags, I can't talk to Wags right now, but Wags is over at Prepcast sometimes. But and are you over at Prepcast as well, Scott?
No, I haven't done a whole lot of Prepcast.
Okay. But anyway, we try to stay competitive with guys like that and beat them at their prices. So I'm just kidding.
No, hey, it's a competitive. That's the beauty of America. It's a competitive market. Right. So you got to do what you got to do.
Right. Well, and I'll give it to Prepcast. They've been around for a long time and got a lot of respect for those guys. And they're if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I get it. But we just want to go in a little bit different direction, kind of show a little bit more detail, a little bit more of the action from time to time, and we've got the ability to do that. So, kudos to the guys over at Prepcast, but they're good folks.
We've been lucky to work. I'm honestly, I've been lucky to work with both sides. I think that's the great thing about it. It's not a competitive thing. It's more of a, hey, we're just trying to get as much coverage of local high school and even under high school sports as they possibly can. It doesn't matter who it is. Let's just get it out there so these kids can be represented and so that we can get more of, that's what this show's about, is that Midwest bias, getting more of the Midwest out there and screw the East and West Coast. They got all the coverage they want. The Midwest is really what it's all about. That's where the bread and butter's coming from. That's where the linemen come from. That's from the Midwest. So we got to get that out there as much as possible.
Love it.
Oh, well, Ray, why don't you tell us a little bit about where we can find you, how people can contact you. I know you've already spoken about the Facebook page, but tell us a little bit about where they can find you and how they can contact you.
Yeah, so we're out on Facebook, YouTube at LiveStreamSTL, Twitch, Twitter. Follow us overall on those places. We used to be, Periscope's no longer, so we're not really doing games on Twitter anymore. Thank you, Twitter. We appreciate that. Fix that, Twitter. Thanks. But
you gotta get those fleets in. You gotta get those fleets in that no longer exist.
Right. So about a year ago, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, we partnered with the TKDS Sports Network. And if you go over there to livestreamstl.tkdssports.com, that's our website. That's where we have a lot of articles on our local schools, schedules as well. And that's where we have all of our live games as well. So we usually use Facebook just to advertise with and throw the links out. So like tomorrow, we'll be at Herculaneum High School doing girls softball, DeSoto and Herculaneum at 4:15. So if you check out our Facebook page, you'll see the link. You'll be able to click on that, take you straight to the website, and we're able to stream both LiveStreamSTL and LiveStreamSTL South over there with the ability to do video on demand. That is a subscription only setup, but you can buy a subscription for a month and get video on demand over there and watch all the games for the month. Pretty cheap, not too expensive, and we're not Misha, but it is what it is. Did I just throw a Misha reference in? No, I love Misha. Misha guys are great.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They really, really are. So, well, Ray, we definitely appreciate you coming on, talking a little bit about Jefferson County football and the sports area down there. We'll definitely have you back on here as we get close to the end of the season, as they get set into districts. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of potential matchups in the playoffs down the line with Jeffco teams and local teams up here. So we'll definitely be bringing you back on for that for sure.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having us on. And it's been too long, man. We got to keep staying together here.
We do. That's the beauty of this now is we can do that. And I can't believe it has taken us this long to get to this point. But yeah, we will definitely be in contact and maybe working together here real soon.
Sweet. Love it. Give me a call, man.
Sounds good. Well, Ray Halbrook from LiveStreamSTL, thank you once again for joining us. Make sure you check out all their great action over there as well. He gave you the website. You can also go to their Facebook page and get into their stuff from there. They do a great job. I mean, hands down, they really do a really good job. Multi-camera setup, and it's really cool. I really do hope we both of us get a chance to go over there and work a couple games for them.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, we've both been in contact with Ray multiple times. He's tried to get us on, and stuff just hasn't worked out. But yeah, hopefully at some point we can work with him because they do a great job.
That they do. All right, let's jump over to college football. We talked a little bit about it before Ray jumped on. Just a quick rundown of some of the games that went down this past weekend. Ohio State over Minnesota. Virginia Tech, the upset over UNC. Alabama, big-time blowout win over Miami. Oklahoma survives Tulane. You got the big Georgia-Clemson matchup, a 10-3 Georgia victory there. Ohio State, just a 16-10 win over Northern Iowa. Oregon holds on over Fresno State, 31-24. Penn State, the big win at Wisconsin, 16-10. UCLA, I think both of us called that game, 38-27 win over LSU. Iowa, a big win over Indiana, who you don't believe should be ranked, and I think I'm right there with you now. Montana upsets Washington, 13-7. Texas, a 38-18 winner over Louisiana. And the big Notre Dame-Florida State game last night went to overtime. Notre Dame, a 41-38 winner. So, real quickly, I know we talked a little bit beforehand, but what was the big game for you this past weekend that lived up to the hype? And then what was the big game that surprised you this weekend?
I think that Notre Dame-Florida State game surprised me. I didn't expect that game to be that close. Florida State was more competitive in that game than I expected them to be. And then the game we talked about a little bit earlier that just shocked me was that Georgia-Clemson game, how inept Clemson's offense looked. I mean, neither offense looked good. But Clemson's offense just had no rhythm whatsoever. Just looked rough, and both of those defenses played well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for those two teams going forward.
I mean, are you sitting there seeing is Clemson out of the college football playoff automatically because of this? The ACC is not going to be good this year. But, I mean, it's a one loss. They'll probably end up winning the ACC championship. But do you see them being able to get in even with a loss like this?
It's just going to depend on how they play. I mean, it'll depend. Part of it's going to depend on what Georgia does the rest of the year. If Georgia loses a couple of times, that'll affect things. And how the rest of, teams play. Could a one-loss Clemson team get in over a one-loss Pac-12 team? Absolutely. And same thing with Big 12. So, it's just going to depend on how other teams play and what Clemson does the rest of the season.
That's pretty much what I've been hearing from everybody else is that's the same sort of thing. And then you look over at that Florida State Notre Dame game. Mackenzie Milton started at quarterback for Florida State, threw a touchdown pass in his first drive. 3 years after that, just horrific leg injury that he suffered. So it's really, really good to see him out there. And like you said, Florida State was very, very competitive against Notre Dame. But that still, I've never understood the hype around Notre Dame ever. I just don't understand it. But is this more an indication of how good FSU could be, or is it more of an indication of that Notre Dame maybe not as good as we think they are?
I think Florida State just played well, first week of the season, hyped to be in a big game because they really haven't been in a big game for a few years now. I think Notre Dame is going to be good. They're always good. They're not, they don't play the schedule. I mean, they do play a tough schedule, but they don't play in a conference. And, a couple of times over the last few years, it seems like they've been a little overrated because they get into a championship game or a big bowl game and they get beat pretty badly. But they are a good program, in the history of Notre Dame. They're one of those schools that is always going to be at the top because of the pedigree that they have, the names, the list of people that have been there, and what that school represents to so many people.
Yeah, I totally agree. And last question on the college football front before we jump to the NFL for a few minutes. Alabama. Is it Alabama and everybody else this year?
Probably. I mean, they looked pretty good. Nick Saban just keeps churning out guys. So, I would say so. I mean, it's one game, so we'll see as things move on, but they definitely looked good on Saturday.
Yeah, they really did. And I'm right there with you. You almost like hang your head and go, Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're good every single year. It's impossible to imagine, but they certainly are. So we'll see how that plays out. The SEC is going to be tough this year, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Okay, real quickly, we got about 10 minutes or so left of the show. So this NFC preview is going to be a little bit shorter than we anticipated being, but we're going to look real quick at the NFC East and the NFC North tonight. I was going to go NFC South, and then I just put down all my NFC North questions. So, we're going to go with the North. Let's start in the East first, and you've got the Washington football team, the New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. And I'll be perfectly honest, for me, the NFC East comes down to quarterback play. I mean, you talk about quarterback play, every team, they got to have the right quarterback. But for me in the East, you got Ryan Fitzpatrick at the Washington football team. You've got the progression of Daniel Jones. Is he going to improve even more? He does have some more weapons around him this year. What's he going to look like this year? You've got the question about Dak Prescott's health in Dallas. And for Philadelphia, it's a matter of who's going to be the quarterback of the team. You've got Jalen Hurts there. You brought in Gardner Minshew. For me, the East is all about quarterback play. Now, I think Washington's defense is going to dictate a lot about how those quarterbacks in the conference play, but that's how I see it. I mean, what are you looking at as far as the East is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of the quarterback play, like you said. Although I think when you really look at it, the most well-rounded team is Washington, with the defense they have, and they're able to run the ball. And I think they're the cream of the crop in that division if Fitzpatrick stays healthy. And then the rest of the division, there's just a lot of questions. Is, like you said, is Prescott going to be healthy? Who's going to play in Washington, and what is Daniel Jones able to do? Is he able to take that next step in development? Maybe Eli Manning being around will help him a little bit. Maybe in New York, we'll see. But if I had to stack them up, I would say it's probably Washington, Dallas, the Giants, Philly is probably the way I would put those four teams right now.
Yeah, I'm going Washington, Giants, Dallas, Philadelphia, but I think the Giants and Dallas are like neck and neck in a sense. You got the return of Saquon Barkley in New York. Obviously, you're not going to know how he's going to react coming off the injury. I get that, but still a dynamic talent up there. And I think I've picked them as kind of like my dark horse team this year, the Giants. I think Washington, a lot of people are going to sit there and say they're underrated, but I think a lot of people are going to be picking Washington to win that division. So I think they're being looked at as better than people are valuing them at, I guess, is what I'm going with. But I think the Giants are a team that could be one of those dark horse teams. I don't know if that's going to play out or not, but anytime you got Eli Manning coming back to that team, and not at the quarterback role, obviously, but he's going to be a mentor somewhat to Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones grew up idolizing Eli Manning. So having Manning kind of back in that fold may help that progression of Daniel Jones. So I'm looking at the Giants to be that kind of fringe wild card type of team. But I do think Dallas is there as well. I mean, you can't deny the talent that Dallas has. They've got Zeke, they've got Amari Cooper, they've got they've just got a bunch of talent there. It's just they got to have somebody that can throw the ball to them, and we'll see if that actually happens this year.
Okay, so you just named Zeke and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and a quarterback. Name one guy on the Dallas defense.
Yep.
There's your problem.
That's it right there. And that's the thing, though. You have that talent on the offensive side. You could sit there and say, yeah, well, Dallas could feasibly outscore every team that they play. But last year, they had that ability too, and they just could not click at any point during the season. So even if you got mediocre defensive play, your offense with all that talent still has so many question marks around it. You don't know if you're going to be able to score points.
Yeah, the Cowboys are a joke in my mind, honestly. I see them being around 500. That's about it.
I think that's right. I think this division is maybe a 9-7 division champion. I mean, maybe 10-7. I'm sorry, 9-8. I apologize. I'm right, just like you. It's 17 freaking games this year. Okay, I get it. Got to do math differently this year. Let's jump over to the NFC North real quick because we gave you our rundown of the NFC East. You got the Packers, Vikings, Bears, and Lions. I think the biggest question mark surrounding the entire NFC North this year is going to be that Aaron Rodgers saga and how that's going to play out. It also could be the end of the road for Devontae Adams up there as well. I still think Green Bay, with all of that going on, is going to probably end up winning this division. It's not a great division, but it's not a terrible one at that. I think it's going to be a relatively competitive division. But I got the Packers up top, and I think it's just going to be because Aaron Rodgers is going to be a pissed-off quarterback, and he's just going to show everybody, like, hey, screw you all. This is how good I am. I'm going to go out there and single-handedly win a bunch of these games, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, him and Devontae Adams are both going to want to do that. They're going to want to put up huge numbers so they can get out of there and get big contracts. So, I think you're right. I think Green Bay is probably the cream of the crop. And then the rest of the division, again, you're going to talk about, okay, who's playing quarterback and what does that look like?
It really is. I mean, Minnesota, you've got Kirk Cousins. He's going to put up numbers for sure, but he also has the penchant for, throwing games away, throwing picks, and just not playing very, very well in games they should win. And that defense, the defense has kind of been down the last couple of years after being dominant for a good stretch there. I think they might be back on the upswing, but until they can go out there and prove that they're back to where they were a few years ago, that defense in Minnesota is going to be a big question mark. And then, like you said, Chicago. Who's going to be the quarterback? I believe Andy Dalton's going to start the season, but how long is that leash for him? How long is he going to be left out there by Matt Nagy before you throw Justin Fields out there? I think, honestly, it's until he feels comfortable that offensive line can protect Justin Fields. Once that happens, Fields is in, and that's all you're going to look. You're not looking back because Andy Dalton is not your starting quarterback all year.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. I don't know. I don't know what that number is when you bring Justin Fields in. A lot of people are saying, he'll be in by the second or third game at the latest. I'm not sure. If Andy Dalton plays halfway decent, you may see him, they ride with him for a while. So I'm just not really sure how that's going to play out. And then, we talk about Detroit and the Jared Goff thing. And, that's not good at all.
Could this be the worst team in Detroit that we've seen in a bit?
You mean worse than the 0-16 team a couple of years ago?
Maybe.
So they'd have to go 0-17. They're not going to be good, I don't think. I'm sure that Lions fans aren't real excited about that team.
I wouldn't be. I mean, when we trade away a Matt Stafford for a Jared Goff, and people are like, "That's an improvement." I don't see how that's possible. I mean, Jared Goff was a guy that struggled in LA, and somehow they got to a Super Bowl, but I think it was more so on the strength of their defense and their running game at the time. I just don't know. Now you basically take away anybody to throw to and anybody to hand the ball off to, and your offensive line isn't all that great. And hey, guess what? Your defense isn't too good either. This could be a really, really bad team.
It could be. Their head coach is going to be really entertaining, though. I mean, Dan Campbell's talking about biting people's kneecaps and drinking 12 cups of coffee to get to practice. And, that part of it could be really entertaining. The on-the-field product, I'm not really sure is going to be good. Although, I think the Lions had to trade Matt Stafford. It just wasn't working anymore. Stafford wasn't happy. And, he deserved a chance to go somewhere and play and have a chance to win. And he was never going to have that in Detroit, unfortunately.
No, we're going to talk about the Rams on Wednesday when we break down the NFC South and NFC West. And I know it's going to be a hard pill to swallow, sitting there saying that the Rams could be a potential candidate for a deep playoff run. But with Matt Stafford there, it is a possibility because you've got some talent there. You've got the Cooper Kupps and those guys. You've got the ability to have a pretty good offense. Matt Stafford deserved to go somewhere and have a chance to win. The Lions failed to do that with Calvin Johnson. And we saw how that relationship ended, and it still hasn't really been repaired, although word is it is getting a little bit closer to being repaired. But they didn't do it to Calvin. They did it for Matt Stafford. Hopefully he does get a chance. Stafford is one of those guys that, you look at and you go, yeah, I'd like to see that guy win a championship. Now that he's playing for the Rams, I don't think that's something I want to see.
No, and like you said, Stafford needed to get out there. And just think about that talks about the Lions franchise. All you need to know right there is that there are two of their greatest players all time, Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, were both so sure that team was never going to win anything. They just decided to walk away.
Yeah. That's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Okay, quickly, your NFC North breakdown. How do you see that division stacking out?
Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions.
It's almost like we're the same person because that's exactly the way I have it too, which is sad because I think the Bears were kind of on the upswing a little bit last year as far as positivity wise, and now they've taken a bit of a step back. But who knows? I mean, it is the NFL, and crazier things have happened. What is it? There's like 2 or 3 teams every year that go worst to first, or at least worst to playoffs. So
Right.
you never know. It's possible. But the season does start on Thursday night. On Wednesday, we'll have our previews of the NFC South and the NFC West, and we will also go through and make our picks for the week as well. We're going to try and do that every Wednesday because of, the Thursday night game, yippee. So we'll have Thursday picks, Sunday picks, and Monday picks on Wednesday as well. Make sure you guys get in on Wednesday to check that out. And you got anything else before we head out of here, Scott?
Only other thing I've got is, and we talk about it every night, if you can, please help us with the Real Men Wear Pink campaign with the American Cancer Society to fight breast cancer. If you haven't heard, I am an ambassador for that, so I'll be wearing a lot of pink here in the next few weeks. And I will be doing some fun stuff with the American Cancer Society for the campaign. And you can always make donations. There's a link on our page. You can also go to my personal page. There's a link there, but any money that you can donate will be greatly appreciated. It will help, and let's all do whatever we can to fight breast cancer.
Here. Yeah, stick around for a lot of really, really cool things along that as well. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. And thank Ray Halbrook once again from LiveStreamSTL for joining us, talking about the high school football season in Jefferson County. We'll have him back on as we get closer to district play and the playoffs. Make sure you guys come back on Wednesday night, because remember, we're off on Tuesdays and we're off on Fridays right now because of high school football. Wednesday night, Scott and I will be back with the NFC South and West, as well as our NFL picks for the week, and maybe a couple of college picks as well. We'll see how that plays out. But until then, enjoy your rest of your night. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we will see you guys on Wednesday.
Hey, it's you-man here from Casey. For all your sports news, catch the Toasted Tavern with Scott Tobin and the man called Wags, weeknights at 9 p.m. You can follow Toasted Tavern on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Let's get toasted.